10 years. Exactly 10 years ago, the very first video was released on this channel. Over this time, console generations have come and gone, and thousands of games have been released. To celebrate this anniversary, we'll be releasing several massive Supercut videos on various topics. In this video, I've put together the 100 best single-player PC games that every self-respecting gamer simply must play, from timeless classics to modern masterpieces. After watching, let me know how many of these 100 games you've already beaten. Let's see if we have any true veterans among us. Let's start with Half-Life 2. Remains a benchmark for how a linear shooter can be both dynamic and atmospheric. The game expertly balances intense firefights with elite units and exploration of City 17. The Source Engine's physics model, from realistic collisions to puzzles built around the gravity gun, makes interaction with the world far richer and more tactile than in most modern FPS games. On top of that, Valve managed to merge storytelling and gameplay so that the narrative unfolds through the play itself rather than cutscenes. You're not just shooting, you're taking part in a world where every action leads to the next story beat.
Cyberpunk 2077, one of the most anticipated cyberpunk games of recent years. This action RPG is praised and criticized in equal measure. The game is filled with captivating events, intriguing characters, and intense shootouts. It offers moderate quest variation and allows character development along multiple paths, from a hacker netrunner to an augmented combatant. When everything comes together, it becomes one of the best games with an engaging plot, beautiful graphics, and a vast open world full of activities. With the recently released Phantom Liberty expansion, its quality can be compared to The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine expansion. This is how Cyberpunk should have been at release. The plot, presentation, everything is top-notch. It's the kind of game that makes you want to erase your memory to experience the emotions all over again. The Outer Worlds. This narrative-driven role-playing game from Obsidian allows you to explore a couple of planets on the edge of the galaxy, where you'll have complete freedom in a Wild West-like world with a futuristic twist. The development team is known for their meticulously crafted games with a plethora of gameplay mechanics and player influence on the world. This time, they've stuck to their traditions. Here, you'll find a fantastic story, companions with individual backgrounds, and a quirky world filled with monsters and warring factions. Terminator Resistance. No one expected much from a game set in the Terminator universe that came out in 2019, and you might not even have known about it. However, this action RPG, telling a story that takes place between the first and second movies, turned out to be excellent. It skillfully blends shooter and RPG mechanics. You'll have to deal with cyborgs using futuristic weaponry, and in between firefights, you'll manage your affairs at the base, take on additional quests, upgrade the main character's skills, and search for valuable items in the post-apocalyptic world for crafting and trading. Mass Effect Series, a sci-fi action RPG series that is still considered one of the best in the RPG genre. The main events are set in the future, where humans join the Galactic Council on the Citadel space station alongside other alien races to convince them of a growing threat to all sentient life. Each game in the series features a deep role-playing system, intriguing companions, a compelling storyline, and a plethora of moral dilemmas. Deus Ex Series, a renowned first-person shooter series with RPG and stealth elements, beloved by players for its non-linearity. Its foundation lies in complex level design and high interactivity, along with a well-thought-out role-playing system that allows players to choose their own playstyle. The main events take place in various countries around the world in the near future, where augmentations, enhancing the protagonist with various passive and active abilities, are highly developed. The game also offers a wide selection of weapons and clever gadgets that can be modified. Elex Series. This is a series of role-playing games from the creators of Gothic, where post-apocalypse, science, and magic intersect. In this relatively compact yet action-packed world, your actions can influence its fate. It's a game about freedom, choices and consequences, humanity, and cold calculation. While the game is not without flaws, it will undoubtedly leave a lasting impression. Fallout 4, a game that's truly hard to put down. Despite its aging engine, the game world looks beautiful and is fascinating to explore, rescuing inhabitants from raiders and mutants, scavenging abandoned factories for valuable equipment, crafting armor, or building your settlement. The game exudes a rich atmosphere, an intriguing storyline, quest variability, and engaging interactions with companions. While additional quests may not seamlessly integrate into the main story, and the technical side leaves room for improvement, this post-apocalyptic world can captivate you for a long time. Horizon Zero Dawn is a post-apocalyptic action RPG where humanity, reverted to a primitive state, fights for survival against robotic creatures that have evolved to dominate the Earth. Players take on the role of Aloy, a young woman who discovers ancient technology and uses it to explore the world filled with dangerous machines and unsolved mysteries. Aloy must not only explore but also aid the people, improve her skills to battle more powerful foes, and craft various items to aid her in her journey. With the help of ancient technology, she can even override and control certain robots, using them as allies or transportation. Additionally, Aloy faces both robotic monstrosities and human threats. Final Fantasy VII Remake. The iconic spiky hairstyles and gigantic swords from Final Fantasy VII have been ingrained in anime culture. Moreover, in 2005, 2 adaptations of the game were released, which largely served as the basis for creating updated character designs in the recent remake. Beyond the scope of the original game, Remake became so massive that it was divided into 3 parts. It introduced a real-time combat system significantly different from the original, with the first act turned into a full-fledged story campaign that spans dozens of hours, offering even the most dedicated fans of the original game plenty of new content. NieR Automata is a hardcore game in the style of Dark Souls set in a world conquered by extraterrestrial invaders. Humans, losing the war, escape to the moon, where they created androids to reclaim their homeland. Players take on the role of one of these androids. The game features a large open world divided into regions, each with its own conditions and enemies. Players will engage in challenging battles against both common foes and bosses. The game's genre-blending gameplay combines elements from slashers, dynamic shooters, arcades, platformers, and RPGs, resulting in a unique and captivating experience. The storyline is equally remarkable and requires players to explore different endings to fully grasp the scale of the war.
The Last of Us Part 1. One of the most emotionally powerful stories in the industry. It's not just a shooter or an adventure game, it's an emotional journey built on strong drama and deeply developed characters. The relationship between Joel and Ellie is the heart of the story. Their dialogue, reactions to the world, and the gradual shift in their dynamic make players empathize and feel a genuine connection. The post-apocalyptic setting isn't just a backdrop, it shapes every decision and every firefight, making you feel the weight of every encounter with the infected and other survivors. The gameplay combines stealth, exploration, and tense combat where resources are limited and every encounter can be deadly. This heightens the sense of vulnerability and forces you to think carefully about every situation. Sometimes running or hiding matters more than direct confrontation. This approach makes The Last of Us not just a linear movie, but an interactive drama where the player's actions truly matter. BioShock. Atmosphere, philosophy, and a narrative that's still analyzed frame by frame. It's a perfect example of how interactivity and atmosphere can create something more than just another shooter. The game takes place in the eerie underwater city of Rapture, where the abandoned ideals of a utopia have turned into a nightmare filled with insane splicers and monstrous creatures. Plasmids and tonics give the player a wide range of combat possibilities, from freezing enemies to manipulating electricity, making every firefight less predictable and adding variety to the core gameplay. At the same time, BioShock isn't just about shooting skills and abilities. The game deeply immerses you in philosophical and moral questions, pushing you to think about free will, individualism, and the consequences of your choices. Doom Eternal. a pure, aggressive linear game that pushes action to its absolute limit. Eternal turns linear action into an almost mathematically precise combat dance. You can't just hide behind cover or conserve resources. The game forces constant movement, weapon swapping, and full use of your entire arsenal. Every enemy type demands a specific approach. Sometimes precision matters, sometimes finishing moves are essential for ammo or armor. Arenas are designed to keep the player under constant pressure while still providing the tools for aggressive dominance. The key strength of Doom Eternal is the feeling of control and speed. The better you understand its systems, the more spectacular and confident every fight becomes. The linear structure works perfectly here. The game never distracts you with side tasks and never gives you more breathing room than necessary. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Pure cinematic experience with perfectly staged set pieces. It's an example of how linear structure can feel invisible while remaining incredibly effective. The game constantly pushes the player forward, smoothly alternating between exploration, firefights, puzzles, and large-scale scripted sequences. The levels feel spacious but always guide you toward the right destination, preserving a strong sense of adventure. Special attention is given to characters and their interactions. Dialogue during gameplay, small everyday moments, and reactions to events make the story feel alive and human. Linearity allows for perfect pacing. Tense moments give way to calm ones, and spectacular scenes appear exactly when they're needed. Dead Space. One of the best examples of how linearity amplifies fear. Dead Space uses linear design as a tool to apply constant pressure on the player. Narrow corridors, dark maintenance areas, and the isolation of the protagonist heighten the sense of vulnerability. The game rarely offers a feeling of safety. Even after clearing an area, there's always the anxiety that danger could return at any moment. The absence of a traditional on-screen HUD and visual indicators built directly into the character's suit further deepen immersion. The combat system also serves the horror. Enemies can't simply be gunned down. You have to aim for their limbs, which demands composure even in moments of panic. Limited resources and slow movement force you to think through every step. God of War. A linear story disguised as free exploration and executed perfectly. God of War structures its linearity so skillfully that it's barely noticeable. The game creates an illusion of freedom through hubs, branching paths, and optional activities, while the main route is always precisely crafted, pushing the player forward without breaking the pacing. The combat system makes every fight feel deliberate. Heavy strikes, distance control, and smart use of the environment turn encounters into tactical engagements rather than chaotic action. Alan Wake 2. A modern benchmark for linear narrative and atmosphere. This is a rare case where linearity becomes the core tool for horror and tension. The game leads the player through carefully staged scenes where lighting, sound, and editing work together as effectively as in a strong psychological thriller. Each location is designed to intensify unease, while sharp shifts in perspective and rhythm maintain constant tension. The gameplay doesn't aim for complexity, it serves the story. Limited resources, a slow pace, and the need to manage light make every enemy encounter dangerous and memorable. Tomb Raider series. The Tomb Raider reboot focuses on a tightly guided adventure where story and action unfold according to a clear script. The levels feel spacious but always move the player forward, carefully directing them through platforming, puzzles, and combat sequences. This approach preserves a sense of journey and discovery without dissolving into unfocused exploration. The series successfully blends cinematic presentation with interactivity. Spectacular set pieces are seamlessly woven into gameplay, while survival and exploration elements are delivered in measured doses. Linearity helps maintain strong pacing and keeps the focus on Lara Croft's development, turning each entry into a cohesive adventure with a clear beginning, climax, and conclusion. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. radically changed the perception of story-driven shooters by focusing on a cinematic portrayal of modern conflict. The campaign takes the player through tightly directed missions, where every segment feels like part of a tense military thriller. There are no wasted moments, only carefully constructed scenarios that constantly shift pace and perspective. The game stands out in how it conveys scale and chaos. Scripted events, sudden role changes, and unexpected twists create a strong sense of being inside a large-scale military conflict. Linearity here allows for precise control over dramatic structure and emotional peaks. Devil May Cry 5, a modern benchmark for linear character action. It's a tightly focused linear action game built entirely around player skill. Levels serve as arenas for the combat system, where style, timing, and creativity matter most. The game encourages aggressive, expressive gameplay, constantly pushing you to experiment with weapons, abilities, and combos. Each character feels distinct, adding depth and variety to the experience. The linear structure fits this approach perfectly. Nothing distracts from combat and skill progression. Devil May Cry 5 doesn't pad itself with unnecessary activities. It knows exactly what it wants to be and commits to that vision all the way through. Prince of Persia, a classic linear adventure with perfect pacing. The game is built around an ideal rhythm. Acrobatics, combat, and puzzles flow into one another without downtime, keeping the player constantly engaged. Parkour and movement feel smooth and intuitive, turning each level into a carefully designed route rather than a collection of random obstacles. The key time rewind mechanic makes the game truly unique. The ability to correct mistakes doesn't reduce tension. It encourages experimentation instead. The linear structure allows new mechanics and story beats to be introduced with precise control. South of Midnight, a rare case where a game captivates from the very first minutes. Its greatest strength is atmosphere. The world, inspired by southern folklore, melancholy, and magic, feels like a living fairy tale. You want to linger in its locations, take in the details, and listen to the constantly shifting music, from quiet melodies to vocal tracks infused with blues and folk motifs. The visual style, with its puppet-like, almost stop-motion animation, makes the game truly distinctive. It feels more like a southern ballad or an old campfire tale than a traditional adventure. The story is simple but touching, told with respect for culture and without unnecessary grandiosity. It's a short, visually stunning, and musically outstanding tale meant to be experienced over a couple of evenings, tackling themes far from childish. If you accept its console-like soul and its simple, repetitive mechanics, it leaves a strong, warm aftertaste. Dark Souls 3, the most linear entry in the Souls series with exceptional level design. The levels are connected in a clear sequence, where each new region logically evolves from the previous one, reinforcing a strong sense of journey and progression. The level design is built around short loops, hidden paths, and checkpoints that gradually become familiar and safe. Combat and enemy placement maintain constant tension. The game rarely lets you relax, yet it always fairly rewards attentiveness and patience. Resident Evil Village builds its linear progression as a series of distinctly different episodes, each playing on its own fears and mechanics. The game constantly shifts its rhythm. Tense exploration of tight spaces gives way to action, followed by near-experimental horror segments that play with controls and perspective. This constant variation prevents familiarity and makes the journey forward feel unpredictable, despite a clearly defined path. Combat and resource management reinforce a sense of vulnerability. Ammo, upgrades, and inventory choices demand careful planning, while enemies often punish recklessness. The linear structure allows the game to precisely control tension and build atmosphere without being diluted by unnecessary activities. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, an example of how linear design can be spectacular and dynamic without losing focus. The game continuously pushes the player forward using portals, instant world transitions, and densely packed action sequences. Levels feel large and diverse, yet always provide clear direction, maintaining perfect pacing and a strong sense of adventure. Gameplay revolves around mobility and a diverse arsenal, where every weapon doesn't just deal damage but changes how combat feels. Fast movement, acrobatics, and intense firefights make the experience energetic and visually impressive. Linearity here isn't a limitation. It's a way to keep the focus on what matters most: the joy of movement, shooting, and a constant stream of visual wow moments. Red Dead Redemption 2. This isn't just a game about the Wild West. It's a simulation of immersion that's rarely seen in video games. The world truly lives on its own. Wild horses run across the plains, deer move quietly through forests, and townsfolk go about their daily routines whether you're there or not. Interacting with NPCs can be as simple as a greeting or grow into full conversations that reveal character and make you forget you're playing a game. Relationships within the Van der Linde gang feel almost familial. Over time, you don't just complete missions, you grow attached to the people around you. Games of this scale often sacrifice depth for spectacle, but RDR2 does the opposite. Survival mechanics, from caring for your horse to eating and resting, don't just add realism, they deepen your emotional connection to the world. Gunfights and the Deadeye system feel like true duels, while the sheer variety of random encounters, hunting, ambushes, unexpected events makes every journey engaging, even when you're just riding into the sunset. The slower pace may not be for everyone, but it's exactly what allows the atmosphere of a dying Wild West to fully sink in. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. This is a benchmark for what a role-playing game can be when every decision truly matters. The focus isn't just on a massive open world, but on a rich universe filled with stories. Quests often unfold as small-scale dramas with moral dilemmas, where every choice has consequences. The world's inhabitants and storylines are so carefully crafted that it's easy to lose track of time simply wandering through lands full of unexpected encounters and stories you want to see through to the end. Combat and character progression also deserve attention. The fighting system balances tactical planning with fluid action, encouraging the use of potions, magical signs, and positioning to overcome a wide range of monsters. The day-night cycle affects enemy behavior, adding another layer to preparation. Every region, from the lively streets of Novigrad to the bleak swamps of Vilen, feels alive and rich with detail. You're not just completing quests, you're becoming part of a world that constantly evolves around you. Grand Theft Auto V. It pushed the open-world formula to a point where the game's structure itself becomes a storytelling tool. The three protagonists aren't just a narrative gimmick, they're a core gameplay mechanic. Instantly switching between characters changes the rhythm of missions and lets you experience the same situation from different perspectives. Heists are designed as multi-stage operations, emphasizing planning and execution. Los Santos feels less like a map and more like a real metropolis. Radio stations, TV shows, random events, and NPC behavior all work together to create a sharp satire of modern society. The game blends absurdity, drama, and freedom so seamlessly that even years later, it's easy to lose dozens of hours simply existing in this world. GTA 5 isn't just about scale and budget. It's a rare example of an open world that feels dense, varied, and truly alive. Baldur's Gate 3. It shows what role-playing freedom looks like when pushed to its logical extreme. Almost every situation allows dozens of solutions, through dialogue, the environment, abilities, items, or pure chaos. The game doesn't check whether you chose the right option. It reacts to your choice and reshapes the world around it. Even failed dice rolls don't break the narrative. Instead, they create new, often more interesting consequences. The combat system, based on Dungeons and Dragons rules, rewards creativity more than raw damage calculations. The environment can be used as a weapon, positioning truly matters, and every class feels genuinely distinct. But the most important part is the characters. They aren't just companions, but full participants in the story, each with their own fears, goals, and internal conflicts. Ghost of Tsushima. It's an example of how an open world can be both minimalist and expressive. The game barely relies on interface markers, guiding the player instead through wind, landscape, and visual cues. Exploration doesn't distract from the atmosphere. It enhances it, turning traversal into a meditative experience where every hill and bamboo grove feels like a living painting. Combat revolves around stances and precise timing, making each encounter readable yet demanding. The protagonist's gradual shift from the samurai code toward darker methods of warfare is reflected not only in the story, but directly in gameplay. Ghost of Tsushima doesn't try to impress with the number of mechanics. It wins through cohesion, visual language, and a rare sense of harmony between story, combat, and world. Metro Exodus. It carefully steps away from the claustrophobic corridors of previous entries and turns survival into a journey. Semi-open locations offer freedom in routes and approaches without breaking the pacing. Each area is compact, eventful, and feels like a distinct chapter of the story. The world reacts to your actions. Time of day affects enemy behavior, stealth becomes a conscious choice, and resources are always scarce, forcing you to think several steps ahead. The key strength is atmosphere and immersion. Weapons require maintenance, gas mask filters are constantly running out, and every firefight carries real risk instead of power fantasy. The story unfolds through conversations on the train, campfire talks, and small details that make the characters feel alive. Metro Exodus is a rare example of a narrative-driven shooter where tension, world, and storytelling function as a single, unified whole. Kingdom Come: Deliverance II is a textbook example of how a sequel should work. It keeps the foundation of the original while meaningfully improving everything that needed refinement: writing, quest structure, usability, and combat. The first game now feels like a prologue, because this is where the story truly gains momentum. The narrative is denser, more varied, and bolder, constantly shifting context and surprising through situations rather than simple objectives. The game's greatest strength lies in its characters and its authentic medieval atmosphere. The world isn't divided into black and white, and every character feels like a real person with their own motives and flaws. Combat is more readable, progression more purposeful, and the role-playing systems finally support immersion instead of working against it. Deliverance 2 doesn't try to impress with technical spectacle. It wins through atmosphere and design. This isn't a fantasy backdrop, but an almost documentary-like look at medieval reality, with respect for history, culture, and place. Metal Gear Solid. This is not just an open-world stealth action game, it's a full sandbox where every mission becomes a unique challenge. The flexible mission structure lets you choose the order and method of completing objectives, while enemy AI genuinely adapts to your playstyle. Rely too often on stealth takedowns and enemies start wearing protective gear. Play aggressively and their numbers increase. Another defining feature is the dynamic world with weather systems and a day-night cycle that directly affect tactics. Fog, sandstorms, or nighttime conditions can completely change your approach. Between missions, you develop your own base by capturing enemies, resources, and even wild animals, unlocking new weapons, vehicles, and equipment. This blend of open-world design, stealth, progression, and tactical freedom is what keeps the game feeling alive to this day. Crysis. Even today, it feels like a technological experiment that somehow ended up far ahead of its time. The main reason is the nanosuit, which gives the player full control over their playstyle. Armor, speed, strength, and cloaking can be switched on the fly, turning every encounter into a tactical puzzle. The game encourages situational analysis. Flank enemies, attack from above, destroy the environment, or quickly reposition. This level of freedom is still rare, even in modern shooters. Special attention should be given to the systemic open levels, where destructible environments make every encounter unpredictable. Palm trees snap, huts collapse, cover disappears right in the middle of combat, and these aren't scripted moments, but part of the simulation itself. Dragon's Dogma. What stands out first and foremost is its combat system. You're not just hitting monsters, you climb onto their bodies, grab their limbs, knock them off balance, and use the environment during fights. Every encounter with large enemies turns into a dynamic set piece where it's not just damage numbers that matter, but your understanding of enemy weak points, height, stamina, and timing. The second key feature is the pawn system, which feels far more intelligent than a typical AI companion. Your allies learn from your actions, remember tactics, point out enemy weaknesses, and adapt to the player's combat style. Instead of feeling like dead weight, they actively participate in decision-making and combat support. That's exactly why Dragon's Dogma still feels bolder and fresher than many modern games. Sleeping Dogs. It takes the familiar open-world formula and shifts the focus away from gunplay toward hand-to-hand combat inspired by Hong Kong action films. Fights feel brutal and cinematic. Contextual takedowns, environmental interactions, and fluid animations make every brawl dynamic and visually striking. Even today, this melee system feels fresher than what many newer open-world games offer. This is reinforced by the atmosphere of a living city, where the story is organically woven into everyday life. Missions naturally grow out of the environment, whether it's underground fight clubs, police operations, or the protagonist's personal conflicts. Sleeping Dogs feels modern not because of technology, but thanks to confident direction and a strong, unique identity that still stands out years later. Heavy Rain. Instead of complex mechanics, the game focuses on maximum player involvement. Every action, from simple everyday movements to tense chase sequences, becomes an interactive element. Gesture-based controls, contextual actions, and constant player participation create the feeling that you're not watching the story, but actively living it. Even today, this level of immersion is rare among narrative-driven games. Heavy Rain's greatest strength is how it ties gameplay to emotional choice. You can't simply reload and pick a different option. Decisions have consequences, and tension is built not through action, but through responsibility. In an era where many narrative games are returning to similar ideas, Heavy Rain doesn't feel outdated, but rather ahead of a trend the industry only fully embraced years later. Risen 2. It stands apart from most RPGs of its time thanks to its pirate theme and a more grounded approach to character progression. There's no traditional level-based stat scaling. Progress is driven through training with mentors, skill choices, and equipment. This creates a sense of deliberate growth. Every new ability is the result of a decision, not an automatic upgrade. That kind of design feels surprisingly modern compared to many RPGs where progression has long become a formality. Firearms, traps, dirty tricks, and environmental awareness all play an important role in combat, especially against tougher enemies. Combined with island exploration, faction conflicts, and freedom in playstyle, Risen 2 feels like a game that never tried to chase trends, and that's exactly why it has aged so well. Silksong. This is not just a sequel to a legendary Metroidvania, but an example of how a small studio can create an experience that competes on equal footing with major releases. In this game, you control a fast, acrobatic warrior as she explores a mysterious kingdom, fights intricate enemies, searches for hidden secrets, and makes her way through a vast, living world filled with stories and mysteries. Silksong is known for its deep combat system and striking visual style. Every location is crafted so carefully that the world feels like more than just a backdrop. The music, atmosphere, and countless encounters with unique characters turn it into an incredibly ambitious project that impresses not only fans of the genre, but also players used to high-budget releases. Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Kena feels like the kind of adventure you would expect only from major studios, with cinematic visuals, rich 3D environments, and an emotional story. You take on the role of a young spirit guide who helps lost souls find peace between worlds. As you travel through a forgotten village and its surroundings, you fight enemies, solve puzzles, and collect small spirit companions that assist you in combat and exploration. The graphics and animation are so expressive that many players have compared Kena to big-budget adventure games, while the soundtrack and artistic direction enhance the feeling of a magical, living world. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is a rare case where a 2D platformer looks and feels like a work of art, despite being created by an independent studio. The game continues the story of the small spirit Ori, who ventures into the vast new land of Niwen, filled with dynamic chases and emotional moments. Thanks to its expressive visual style, incredible soundtrack, and strong presentation, the game received widespread acclaim and is often compared to big-budget titles in terms of artistic beauty. Even though it looks cinematic and feels as polished as the best platformers from large studios, it was created by a relatively small international team. Every corner of the world, from glowing forests to dark caverns, is filled with detail and hidden paths, while HDR support and masterful visual effects make it a true visual showcase. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is a game that, surprisingly for an indie project, looks almost like a big-budget post-apocalyptic adventure with a cinematic story. You play as a stray cat wandering through an abandoned city of robots, solving puzzles, avoiding dangers, and trying to uncover the mystery of your origins. What sets S.T.A.L.K.E.R apart from most indie games is its impressive lighting, textures, and atmospheric details, which create the feeling of a living world full of history. Despite the development team being relatively small compared to major studios, S.T.A.L.K.E.R manages to compete on the same level as big publisher projects in terms of presentation and world design. Plague Tale: Requiem continues the dark journey of Amisha and her brother through medieval France, where the world is consumed by plague and war. The game blends stealth, action, and puzzles, forcing you to use light, darkness, and alchemy to survive among swarms of rats and soldiers of the Inquisition. Even though the project was created by a studio much smaller than industry giants, Requiem looks and feels like something major releases could envy, from its richly detailed locations to a vibrant color palette that contrasts the bleak story with sunlit Provençal landscapes. Compared to the first game, Requiem expands its combat system, introduces new tools, and deepens stealth mechanics, making the experience more dynamic while still maintaining a strong focus on storytelling and the emotional conflict between its characters. Remnant 2 is a fast-paced third-person action shooter that manages to combine intense gunfights with procedurally generated worlds, creating a sense of constant unpredictability and scale. You battle terrifying entities across multiple parallel realities, where locations, mechanics, and enemies change with each playthrough, making every run feel unique. Its class system, cooperative play, and dense, high-intensity combat encounters make Remnant 2 a strong choice for players who enjoy shooters with RPG elements. Black Myth: Wukong. From its very first trailer, Black Myth looked like a major AAA action game, and for a long time many believed a large publisher was behind it. In reality, it is an ambitious project developed by a relatively small studio. Dynamic combat, highly detailed bosses, and an incredibly dense visual presentation create the feeling of a large-scale fantasy adventure where every fight looks like a scene from a blockbuster film. The game focuses on tactical action, protagonist transformations, magical abilities, and challenging enemies that demand a thoughtful approach. Unreal Engine 5, realistic lighting, and highly detailed environments reinforce the sense of a big-budget production, which is why the game is often cited as one of the clearest examples of how an indie studio can compete visually and technically with much larger teams. Claire Obscur Expedition 33 is a role-playing game that visually looks like a AAA project, even though it is developed by a small French team. Its world blends surreal fantasy with dark philosophy. Each year, a mysterious painter erases people of a certain age from existence, and a new expedition sets out to try to break this cycle. The artistic style, cinematic camera work, and expressive lighting create the feeling of an expensive, carefully staged adventure. The combat system combines a turn-based foundation with active elements. Claire Obscur is easily perceived as a game on the level of major studios, but it is precisely the contrast between its AAA appearance and its indie origins that makes the project especially compelling. Atomfall is an atmospheric first-person adventure that can easily be mistaken for a dark AAA survival game. It is set in an alternative version of Britain after a nuclear catastrophe, where familiar landscapes have been transformed into almost surreal locations. The game focuses on exploration, tension, and visual storytelling, while its detailed environments and lighting create the feeling of an expensive, carefully crafted project. Gameplay revolves around survival, resource gathering, and gradually uncovering the secrets of this strange world. Even though the game is not backed by a traditional industry giant, Atomfall looks and feels like a confident AAA experiment that draws players in not through sheer scale, but through atmosphere and attention to detail. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon is a dark first-person RPG that, both visually and in terms of world scale, feels like a full-fledged AAA role-playing game. It reimagines Arthurian legends as grim fantasy, featuring an open world, dungeons, meaningful choices, and a constant sense of decay. Its combat system, progression, and freedom of exploration place it close to major RPGs, even though it is created by an independent team. The Fall of Avalon stands out for how confidently it presents itself, without excessive spectacle, but with a strong sense of scale, proving that an indie RPG can feel just as imposing as projects from large studios. Mount and Blade 2 is a large-scale medieval sandbox that, thanks to its scope and systemic depth, is easily perceived as a major AAA project. The vast open world of Calradia, hundreds of units on the battlefield, massive sieges involving thousands of warriors, and complete freedom of choice create the feeling of a living, breathing world where every campaign unfolds differently. Visually, the game is noticeably richer than its predecessors, with improved animations, detailed armor, and large-scale battles that feel like the work of a much bigger team. The core strength of Manor Lords lies in its blend of tactical combat, army management, politics, and economy, allowing the player to become anything from a mercenary to a warlord or ruler of an entire kingdom. Despite being developed by the independent studio Tailworlds, its ambition and depth quickly make you forget that fact. Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. What if ghosts were a real threat and hunting them down was an everyday job? Ghosts of New Eden builds its entire concept around this idea. The protagonists are a duo of ghost hunters, protecting the living from supernatural forces until tragedy strikes. The heroine herself becomes a spirit, forcing the player to make a heartbreaking choice: save their beloved or continue their mission. The gameplay blends adventure RPG mechanics with detective thriller elements. As you explore the world, you'll encounter spirits, uncover their stories, find ways to banish them, and make choices that affect the story. Combat is also unique. The protagonist fights in classic action RPG style, while the ghostly companion wields supernatural abilities to aid in battle. Tales of Arise. The Tales franchise is known for its unique blend of JRPG mechanics, fast-paced combat, and emotionally driven stories, and Tales of Arise is one of the strongest entries in the series. The game follows the struggle between two opposing worlds, with the protagonists coming from warring civilizations. Despite their differences, they must work together to change the fate of their people. Combat is fast and real-time, with each character having a unique fighting style. The ability to chain together powerful combos makes battles both exciting and strategic. Beyond combat, the game offers exploration, character progression, and a gripping narrative filled with unexpected twists. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2: Heart of Cornabill. The long-awaited sequel to the cult classic S.T.A.L.K.E.R series takes players back to the Chernobyl exclusion zone, now on a much larger scale, with enhanced visuals and a brand new story. As a stalker, you'll explore abandoned ruins, scavenge for supplies, and face mutants, anomalies, and rival factions, all of which are just as deadly as the radiation itself. Survival mechanics have been greatly expanded, requiring players to carefully manage resources, maintain their weapons, and monitor radiation levels. The game retains the intense, eerie atmosphere of its predecessors, ensuring that every expedition into the zone feels tense and unpredictable. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is not just an RPG, it's a true survival experience in one of the most dangerous locations on Earth. Hogwarts Legacy. This open-world RPG lets players experience Hogwarts long before the events of the books, stepping into the shoes of a young wizard with a unique magical ability capable of uncovering ancient secrets hidden within the school's walls. The game offers deep character customization, house selection, spell learning, and combat against magical creatures and dark wizards. Beyond the main story, players can explore the Forbidden Forest, visit Hogsmeade, and engage in side quests. With a detailed progression system, potion making, dueling, and exploration, Hogwarts Legacy stands out as one of the most immersive RPGs in recent years. Silent Hill 2. The legendary psychological horror returns as a remake, preserving the soul of the original while receiving modern graphics and gameplay improvements. Playing as James Sunderland, players once again journey into the dark, foggy Silent Hill, guided by a mysterious letter from his long-deceased wife. Along the way, he will encounter not only nightmarish monsters but also his own fears, manifested in terrifying forms. The game will feature not only visual enhancements but also numerous gameplay changes, including reworked combat, an over-the-shoulder camera perspective, new buildings and locations, and much more. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. A fresh take on the legendary hero, combining elements of action-adventure and detective gameplay. This game delivers an exciting journey in the spirit of classic films. Set in 1937, Indiana embarks on a dangerous race against the Nazis to uncover the secrets of the Great Circle, an ancient phenomenon that connects different civilizations. The game blends ancient ruin exploration, puzzle solving, and cinematic action sequences, making it feel like playing through an Indiana Jones movie. The realistic graphics and animations capture the essence of the golden age of adventure films, while the voice acting and personality of the main character stay true to the franchise's spirit. Overall, it's not just fan service, but a genuinely compelling action game with an engaging story. Mafia Definitive Edition. The remake of the cult classic The City of Lost Heavens stands out as one of the best reimagined games in recent years. The developers didn't just enhance the graphics, they completely rebuilt the game, adding new story scenes, reworked dialogues, and modernized mechanics. The story of Tommy Angelo, a humble taxi driver who becomes entangled in the criminal underworld, remains as gripping as ever. The atmosphere of 1930s America is captured perfectly. Nighttime streets, jazz music, vintage cars, and brutal mafia conflicts. Despite its linear structure, the storyline grabs you from the very first minutes and doesn't let go until the end. Tommy is one of the most well-developed characters in gaming, and his story is filled with moral dilemmas, betrayals, and an inevitable fate. The Callisto Protocol. From the creators of Dead Space comes a new survival horror that, while not revolutionary, still delivers an unforgettable experience for fans of the genre. The Callisto Protocol is set in a prison on Jupiter's moon, where the protagonist finds himself trapped just as inmates begin mutating into horrifying creatures, throwing the entire station into chaos. Visually, the game is stunning. Realistic lighting, detailed character models, and fluid animations make every battle feel intense. Combat relies on a mix of melee and shooting, adding a hardcore element to fights. While some felt the story was too simple, the oppressive atmosphere and tension make it a worthy horror experience, especially for those who miss the spirit of classic survival horror games. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The sequel to Fallen Order expands the story of Cal Kestis, one of the last surviving Jedi hiding from the Empire. Several years have passed, and Cal has become a more seasoned warrior, but his journey has only grown more challenging. The game offers an epic adventure with an improved combat system, new locations, and an even darker atmosphere, emphasizing the dangers of his path. One of the game's strongest points is its gameplay variety, enhanced lightsaber combat, new force abilities, and even larger planets to explore. The developers focused on cinematic storytelling and added non-linear mission structures, making the experience even more immersive. It's a must-play for Star Wars fans and an excellent story-driven adventure in its own right. Until Dawn. The developers made this game as similar to a movie as possible, a film where you not only watch but also directly participate in the plot's development, influencing the characters' fates with your decisions. Even a minor action can have far-reaching consequences, and it's impossible to predict which choice will save the characters' lives and which will lead to their swift demise. This makes watching this horror even more engaging. The Dark Pictures Anthology. This is a whole series of games, each title unrelated to the others, focusing on the adventures of heroes caught in terrifying circumstances. In Man of Medan, a team of divers ends up on a ghost ship. In Little Hope, college students wander into a town notorious for witch hunts. In House of Ashes, U.S. Army soldiers encounter monstrous creatures in Iraqi dungeons. And in The Devil in Me, documentarians explore a mansion inspired by a serial killer's house. Each part of the anthology involves minimal gameplay, pressing the right button at the right time, choosing dialogue options, and deciding which path the characters will take. Nevertheless, each player's participation affects the plot and the hero's fates, potentially leading to the permanent loss of the entire team. You can play cooperatively, both locally and online, and each game takes about 4 to 5 hours to complete, making the anthology an excellent option for spending time with friends. Detroit: Become Human. The latest interactive movie by Quantic Dream, which raises the stakes to the limit. The developers tried to create as many situations as possible where the player makes consequential decisions, allowing for multiple playthroughs with different outcomes. The plot centers on a machine uprising. In the near future, androids faithfully serve humanity until their software malfunctions. For some reason, the machines develop human emotions and free will, eventually refusing to obey orders. Players control 3 different androids, each with a different social status. The Wolf Among Us. A game adaptation of the graphic novel universe Fables, where fairy tale and folklore characters live among humans, hiding their magical nature. Unfortunately, in this world, they lead harsh lives. Mythical creatures live at the bottom of society, doing menial work and living in poor conditions. The main character is a werewolf and sheriff who ensures that all magical beings strictly follow the rules of society and maintain their secrecy. This is a twisted and highly interesting detective story. The Walking Dead. This is a series of games based on one of the most famous TV series, divided into 4 seasons. From start to finish, it is a coherent and consistent story, though the plot of the series is entirely self-contained. It is a heart-wrenching drama filled with many emotionally challenging scenes. It shows that, in such conditions, the main monster is not the zombies but humans. Of course, the player's decisions significantly impact the story and affect the character's behavior, though the plot remains largely linear, differing only in details. Skyrim. Bethesda has released one of the best games ever made. Skyrim can captivate for a long time thanks to all its merits, including a huge open world to explore, various guilds to join, a deep leveling system, and much more. This cult RPG delights with its diverse content, quality storyline, unique characters, freedom of action, and numerous captivating quests. Persona 5. Another Persona has become a real gift for fans of Japanese role-playing games. It's hard to call it innovative. The 5th installment successfully continues to use mechanics introduced as far back as the 3rd, but each of them is supplemented and polished to a shine. Playing as a teenage outsider, we will deal with a heap of typical school problems while simultaneously getting acquainted with interesting characters. And from time to time, the hero has to invade another world to fight demons. Pillars of Eternity. Both parts of this series are very appealing and intriguing. It's a true role-playing adventure with stunning graphics, choices impacting the storyline, intricately crafted plot, deep leveling system, vast array of spells and weapons. Here, we'll be managing a group of heroes, reading a lot of text, exploring the world, and spending a lot of time in turn-based battles. Revenant Kingdom, this open-world RPG, tells the adventures of children endowed with magical gifts. The game focuses on the young king's attempts to reclaim the throne unjustly taken from him by villains. In battles, our heroes rely on both powerful magic and physical strength, the abilities of companions and tamed familiars. In addition to main storyline quests, there are plenty of interesting side quests and activities, such as building a new kingdom. Two Worlds 2. The Two Worlds duology tells of the endless war between the human kingdom and the orcs, with the player being drawn into events that could lead to the destruction of the world. The game boasts a vast open world, excellent combat system unbound by class restrictions, and an original magic system allowing for the creation of custom spells. Side quests, often more interesting than the main storyline, also pique interest. Middle-earth, an action RPG series that incorporated numerous interesting ideas, including some entirely new to the genre. Thanks to the Nemesis system, enemies remember the player and adapt to their attacks, becoming exponentially stronger upon the next encounter. Combat is fast-paced and spectacular, with upgraded abilities unlocking new combat options playing a crucial role. Wasteland, the first game in the series, not much and not less, served as a prototype for creating Fallout. The second and third installments cannot boast such an achievement, but offer something else, a post-nuclear setting wrapped in modern graphics. These games offer numerous quests, turn-based combat mechanics, plenty of humor, charismatic companions, player decisions influencing the state of the world, and endings. Here, you'll participate in gang skirmishes, make many moral decisions, and witness horrifying plot events. This RPG series with a non-linear dialogue system and careful character development will leave a lasting impression on you. Days Gone. This game is about loneliness. You're constantly on the road, riding your bike through a broken world where barely anyone is left. Forests, empty highways, abandoned towns. It all creates a calm but deeply unsettling atmosphere, like you've been cut off from everything. And then the hordes show up and everything changes. It's no longer just survival, it's pure panic. You see hundreds of infected moving like a single organism, and you realize running is your only option. That contrast between the quiet of the road and sudden chaos is what makes the game so memorable. Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 takes a slightly different approach. Its atmosphere is built on contrast. Sunny Los Angeles, bright streets, pools, luxury homes, and right in the middle of it all, a zombie apocalypse. That clash between a perfect world and what's actually happening makes it feel really unique. At the same time, the game doesn't turn into pure chaos. There's still tension, especially in tighter indoor locations where things start to feel claustrophobic. You're in this bright, colorful world, but the danger never goes away. And because of that, Dead Island 2 creates its own kind of atmosphere, not as dark as others, but still very engaging in its own way. Gears 5. This is pure, polished action that doesn't try to stretch itself with unnecessary content. The campaign is tightly designed. Every fight feels like a set piece, not just another wave of enemies. The game constantly puts pressure on you. Enemies are aggressive, cover breaks, and situations escalate fast. At the same time, there's more focus on the characters. The story isn't just there to justify the shooting, it actually gives you a reason to keep going. Resident Evil 7: Biohazard. This is a hard return to horror. No action overload, just tight spaces and constant tension. The Baker house feels like a character of its own. It's oppressive, unsettling, and never lets you relax. Resources are scarce, and every bullet matters. The game isn't trying to entertain you with non-stop shooting. Instead, it slows you down, makes you listen, look around, and stay alert. Sure, some people don't love the story or find the action lacking, but in terms of immersion, this is one of the strongest horror games out there. And in VR, it's on a completely different level. Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is a rare case where a big franchise takes a step back, and it works. There's no massive map packed with dozens of hours of content. Instead, you get a compact Baghdad, dense city design, and missions you can complete fairly quickly. The focus is back on stealth, observation, planning, and clean execution. You're not forced to grind levels, you just complete missions and move forward. The game doesn't try to hold you at all costs. It has a clear rhythm, a defined length, and a complete story. Dishonored is all about freedom without unnecessary friction. You're given a goal, you're given the tools, and then the game just steps aside. Each mission is a compact sandbox where you can approach things however you want: stealth, aggression, chaos, or a perfect clean run. And most importantly, the game never argues with your playstyle. It doesn't tell you you're playing wrong, it simply reacts to your decisions. There's no feeling of wasted time here. Even when you go off the main path, you almost always find something useful: a new route, a world detail, or a better position for your next move. Marvel's Spider-Man. This is a rare case where a superhero story works not just because of the action, but because of the character. Peter Parker feels real. He has problems, makes mistakes, and balances his personal life with being Spider-Man. The gameplay is what really hooks you. Traversal through New York is so well done that it becomes fun on its own. You're not just moving, you're enjoying the process. Combat is varied too, letting you mix gadgets and approach fights in different ways without it getting repetitive. Even side activities don't feel like chores. You can do them whenever you want without breaking the flow. Quantum Break sets its pace immediately and keeps it all the way through. Combat is built around time-based abilities that feel intuitive. You quickly start combining them and gain real control over situations instead of just pressing buttons. The game constantly shifts its rhythm: action, story, back to action, so it never feels repetitive. The episodic structure works really well. Each act feels complete, and the live-action segments expand the story instead of replacing gameplay. It's a linear experience that doesn't try to be bigger than it needs to be, and that's exactly why it doesn't wear you out. The Evil Within 2 moves toward more open areas, but never loses control of its pacing. You have freedom, you can explore, choose your route, search for resources, but the game never forces you to stay longer than necessary. Every trip out matters. You find useful items, unlock new options, and genuinely improve your chances of survival. The second game feels much more comfortable than the first. The story flows better, and the horror comes not just from jump scares, but from constant pressure and atmosphere. It's a great example of giving players freedom without turning it into a chore. V Rising, an unusual action RPG with survival and building elements, where you play as a vampire who has just awakened after centuries of slumber. Your main goal is to regain your strength, build your own castle, and claim your place among the mighty vampire lords. Players must hunt humans and other creatures to sustain themselves, avoid sunlight, and gather resources to survive in a dangerous open world. A key feature is building and developing your own castle. You decide how and where to construct walls, halls, laboratories, and vaults, arrange the interiors, improve defenses, and recruit servants. At the same time, you'll craft and search for rare materials, since every new castle addition or gear upgrade requires a special approach and unique resources. Boss fights and exploring the massive map are crucial aspects of the game. V Rising supports both solo and multiplayer modes, allowing you to fight against other vampires or team up to form your own clans. Path of Exile 2, the sequel to the famous free-to-play action RPG that expands and deepens the original universe. You'll find a new 7-act story campaign with unique locations, updated monsters and bosses, and a dark post-apocalyptic atmosphere. The game offers 12 completely new classes, each with unique builds and strategies based on distinct archetypes and active skills. The main feature is a completely reworked skill and equipment system. Now, active abilities and supports are represented as gems that you can freely combine, creating your own chains of spells and attacks. The passive skill system has also become more flexible, allowing for highly individualized builds. The variety of gear, a huge number of unique items, the ability to swap weapons mid-combat, and hundreds of progression options make every playthrough unique. Co-op and large-scale seasonal leagues play an important role, regularly adding new mechanics, quests, and challenges. Manor Lords, a large-scale city-building simulator with tactical strategy elements set in a realistic medieval world. You take on the role of a lord responsible for developing your settlement, managing resources, and protecting your lands. The main goal is to build a prosperous estate where every detail matters, from planning roads to placing buildings and farms correctly. A unique feature of Manor Lords is the lack of traditional grids during construction. Buildings and roads can be placed freely, allowing you to create authentic, living settlements. The game's economy is based on complex production chains. You'll need to organize resource extraction, material processing, goods production, and transportation between villages. The townsfolk have their own needs and can migrate, requiring constant attention to economic balance and well-being. Manor Lords also features large-scale real-time battles. Your army is formed from local peasants who become militia in times of danger. Diablo IV, a dark action RPG with a vast open world where you fight demons and dark forces in the world of Sanctuary. Choose one of several unique characters and customize them through skill trees, gear, and loot. Each class offers its own combat style, from powerful combos and summons to spells and stealth attacks. Gameplay combines fast-paced battles against hordes of enemies, procedurally generated dungeons, and live events in the open world. The main focus is on hunting for loot. With every new enemy comes the chance to find unique weapons or powerful artifacts that change your build and playstyle. The story is told through cinematic cutscenes, quests, and random encounters. You interact with survivors, uncover mysteries, and try to stop an ancient threat. Titan Quest II, the sequel to the legendary action RPG, where you once again journey into the ancient Greek world filled with mythology, legends, and deadly monsters. The main character is a chosen one of the gods, tasked with facing the goddess Nemesis, who is spreading chaos across the land. The core mechanic is a flexible character development system that lets you combine different masteries and create unique builds, mixing magic, physical abilities, and special class skills. The world is open for exploration, filled with hidden corners, secret dungeons, challenges, and powerful bosses that require tactics and timely use of abilities. Looting and gear crafting play a crucial role. Find rare artifacts, upgrade your weapons and armor, and experiment with magical combinations. Special attention is given to tactical real-time combat and a cooperative mode that lets you fight side by side with other players. Battlefield 1. This isn't just a World War I shooter, it feels like an interactive war movie. There's nothing clean or controlled about the combat. Everything around you is collapsing, tanks are pushing forward, planes are crashing, and the ground is exploding beneath your feet. Every map feels like a scene from a big-budget film, where you're not a lone hero, but part of a massive, chaotic battlefield. What really stands out is the variety. You can start in the trenches with a rifle, then suddenly charge on horseback with a saber, jump into a tank, or take to the skies. The game constantly shifts its pace and never lets you get bored. And the short war stories in the campaign feel like a collection of powerful mini-narratives, each with its own tone and style. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. This is classic Call of Duty at its best, fast, cinematic, and incredibly polished. The campaign plays out like a spy thriller where you're not just shooting, but taking part in covert ops, interrogations, and stealth missions. The game constantly throws new scenarios at you, from quiet infiltration to full-scale firefights. Some missions can be approached in different ways: stealthy, aggressive, or a mix of both. There are even small choices that slightly affect the story, which is pretty rare for the series. And of course, the signature presentation is here. Explosions, chases, scripted moments, everything is done at a high level and keeps you engaged all the way through. Dying Light, the Beast. This one is all about speed and aggression. You're not just shooting, you're constantly moving, running across rooftops, jumping, dodging, and diving into fights at full speed. Parkour isn't just a feature here, it's the core of the gameplay. At the same time, the game gives you a real sense of power. You're not always the victim, sometimes you are the threat. The mix of melee combat, firearms, and mobility creates incredibly dynamic moments, especially when you're surrounded by enemies. Every fight feels chaotic, but still under your control. Atomfall. This game immediately stands out with its atmosphere. A British post-apocalypse where everything feels calm, but something is clearly wrong. Green fields, quiet villages, and a constant sense of unease. The game doesn't guide you, no markers, no hand-holding. You gather clues, listen to conversations, and decide where to go next. And early on, you meet characters that you genuinely start to care about. The gameplay is built around survival and choice. Weapons are limited, ammo is scarce, and every encounter feels risky. You can negotiate, sneak around, or go in guns blazing. The combat and stealth are fairly basic, nothing groundbreaking, but it's fully compensated by the atmosphere, exploration, and freedom. You choose your own path, make your own decisions, and that's what makes Atomfall so engaging from the very start. Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. This is pure adrenaline wrapped in a crazy story. The game doesn't hold back. It's brutal, loud, and sometimes completely insane. You're pushing through waves of enemies, destroying everything around you, and feeling like an unstoppable force. The key strength here is the pace and combat variety. You can go all in with dual weapons, play it stealthy, or switch between styles on the fly. Levels are designed with freedom in mind, multiple paths, verticality, different approaches. Every fight feels different, but always intense and cinematic. Prey. This is a shooter that gives you more than just weapons. It gives you systems to interact with the world. You can fight, but you can also think, transform into objects, hack systems, or use the environment against enemies. The game constantly encourages experimentation. What really stands out is the freedom. Almost every situation has multiple solutions. Crawl through vents, build paths with foam, disable turrets, or just go in head-on. Because of that, every encounter feels like a small puzzle where you decide how to survive. Borderlands 4. This is all about chaos, style, and an endless stream of loot. Shooting is combined with a huge variety of weapons, each with its own unique effects. Some fire rockets, others lasers, and some behave in completely unpredictable ways. Combat is bright, explosive, and constantly in motion. Abilities, enemies, and effects all stack together into pure chaos. And co-op makes it even better. Everything on screen looks insane, but you're still in control. The game doesn't try to be serious. It just delivers fun and spectacle in its purest form. Rage 2. This is a shooter where the main focus is how good it feels to play. The gunplay is powerful, weapons feel heavy, abilities add speed, and enemies constantly push you to play aggressively. You're not hiding, you're pushing forward and controlling the fight. The game also gives you room to experiment. You've got abilities like dashes, ground slams, and telekinesis, and you can combine them freely in combat. As a result, every encounter turns into a chaotic spectacle where you create your own moments, throwing enemies out of cover, blowing them up, and finishing them off instantly. It's a shooter where style matters just as much as winning. Immortals Fenyx Rising. A bright and light-hearted adventure inspired by Greek mythology. The world is colorful, sunny, and wonderfully cozy. Green hills, turquoise waters, floating islands, and grand statues of gods. Moving through it is pure joy. Gliding, climbing, planning, and leaping all feel fluid and responsive. The story is told with humor, narrated through the banter between Zeus and Prometheus. Sometimes their jokes land, sometimes they can feel a bit much. Gameplay follows Ubisoft's familiar everything-at-once formula. Combat, puzzles, dungeons, and treasure hunts. Fights are energetic but can grow predictable, and the dungeons start to blend together. Still, if you take your time and simply enjoy the sights, the game delivers the feeling of a delightful journey through a mythic world. Fable Anniversary. This is a return to Albion, a place where good and evil show not only in your choices but also on your face. It's a remaster of the legendary The Lost Chapters, a classic RPG known for its moral choices, British humor, and unmistakable fairy tale charm. The story begins with tragedy. A boy loses his family and finds refuge in the Heroes Guild. From that moment on, everything depends on the player. Will you become a noble savior or a ruthless villain? Every choice leaves a mark. Horns may grow from your head, or a halo may shine above it, and townsfolk react differently depending on who you've become. The world of Fable is surprisingly cozy, with witty dialogues, eccentric characters, and absurd quests that together create the feel of a theatrical fable wrapped in gentle irony. Sea of Stars. This isn't just a retro-style RPG, it's a heartfelt love letter to the golden age of 16-bit classics. If you've ever played Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy, this is that same magic, only with a modern shine. From the very first minutes, everything feels perfectly in sync. The music, visuals, gameplay, and story, there's not a weak link anywhere. The world is vast and full of life, packed with secrets, side quests, minigames, humor, and genuine warmth. Every detail feels carefully crafted, from the melodies to the interface sounds, from sailing across the starry seas to the epic boss fights. The combat is turn-based but never dull. Arcade-like timing mechanics add energy and rhythm. You can swap heroes mid-battle, and new abilities arrive just when they're needed, keeping the adventure constantly engaging. Grand Blue Fantasy Reling, a rare example of how to blend flashy action, cinematic storytelling, and pure combat satisfaction, all without intrusive live service mechanics. The developers delivered exactly what fans had been waiting for: a complete, honest game with no microtransactions, no paywalls, no gimmicks. Gameplay-wise, it sits somewhere between Monster Hunter and Phantasy Star Online 2. Battles are fast, fluid, and impactful. Every strike feels weighty. There are around 20 playable characters, each unique in style, abilities, and rhythm. Whether you prefer ranged attacks, tanking, or agile swordplay, the system encourages mixing and matching, letting you build a party that fits your style perfectly. Visions of Mana. A bright, beautiful, yet slightly old-fashioned adventure. It feels like something straight out of the early 2000s. Square Enix crafted a game that looks like a fairy tale but feels like déjà vu. Its greatest strength lies in the visuals, a world bursting with color, life, and warmth, charming characters, and music that stirs nostalgia for classic JRPGs. The class system and customization are genuinely fun, allowing for experimentation with skills and combat styles. However, the gameplay itself is quite predictable, a straightforward path from point A to point B, a few enemies, chests, and quests that start to repeat. The combat is solid but lacks a spark. If you've played Trials of Mana, you'll know exactly what to expect. NieR. This isn't just a game, it's a short but deeply emotional journey about life, loss, and how even pain can become part of something beautiful. From the creators of Gris, NieR once again turns a simple platformer into pure poetry. From the very first moments, the game enchants you with its visuals. Every scene feels like a living painting, soft colors, dynamic backdrops, and fluid animation that tells a story without a single word. Every movement, every change of light carries emotion and meaning. The gameplay is minimalist yet expressive. A bit of combat, a few puzzles, and many quiet moments where all you need to do is feel. The bond between the heroine and her companion grows and transforms, giving the story a rare, heartfelt warmth. Journey. This isn't a game in the traditional sense. It's a short, poetic experience that speaks volumes without a single word. It tells the story of a journey, simple yet profoundly symbolic. You move forward, toward the light, across golden dunes and the ruins of forgotten civilizations, guided only by the wind and music. There's no interface, no dialogue, just the feeling of motion and the endless horizon ahead. Each scene feels alive, like a painting in motion. Golden sands shimmer in the sun, ancient arches cast soft shadows, and the light dances across your flowing cloak, wrapping you in a sense of warmth and peace. But perhaps the most magical part of Journey is the connection it creates. Sometimes another traveler appears beside you, nameless, silent. You might help each other, share a portion of the path, and then part ways, never knowing who was on the other side of the screen.
100 incredible worlds, stories, and adventures that have left their mark on the gaming industry and in our hearts. Make sure to drop your final score in the comments. How many of these 100 games have you beaten? And let me know which game I missed and what you would add to your personal top list. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a nice day.